Welcome to lesson 5 NF7, dividing whole numbers and fractions. So after this lesson, we should be able to divide with unit fractions and whole numbers. Keeping in mind that unit fractions are fractions with a numerator of 1, but we are going to take this a step further and look at how that works with other fractions as well. Okay, so first and foremost, our vocabulary. So whole numbers, we need to remember, are numbers that are greater than 0. They have no decimals and no fractions. Again, a unit fraction is a fraction whose numerator is 1. Reciprocals. Reciprocals are super important when we're talking about division of fractions. Reciprocals are numbers that when it's the number that when you multiply it by another number gets you 1. So here, if I take 3/4 and I multiply it by 4/3, I get 12/12, which we know is equal to 1. So 4/3 is therefore the reciprocal of 3/4. Now, this is also referred to as the multiplicative inverse. Again, the number that when multiplied by another number gets you 1. So I'm going to pose a question to you. 4 divided by 2 and 4 divided by half. Are they the same thing? Will they get you the same answer? Do they mean the same thing? I want you to take a second and think about it, keeping in mind, what does it mean when we do division? What does each step of that problem tell you to do? All right, got your answer? Let's take a look. 4 divided by 2. So remember, the first number, 4, tells us how many pieces we have, divided by 2. So 2 tells you how many are going into each group. So I have 4, and I'm putting 2 into each group. So if we did that, here's 4 pieces, and I'm putting 2 into a group. So I have 1, 2, and then I'm going to go ahead and change my pen color here. I'll go ahead and do blue. And then 1, 2. So in doing so, when I took 4 and put it into groups of 2, I got 2 new groups. Let's take a look at when we do 4 divided by half. Now remember, this is how much I want in each group. I want 1/2 in each group. So think of it this way. I have 4 pizzas and I want to give half to each person. So I'm not giving each person a full pizza. I'm giving each person half of a pizza. So how many people can I share my pizza with? All right. Well, I'm still starting with 4. So there's my 4 pizzas. I like rectangle pizzas. But then now again, I'm splitting them up into groups of 1/2. So now I have to take each one and split it into half. So here's a half, and here's a half. So far with 1 pizza, I can share it with 2 people. Here's another half, and another half. So with another pizza, I can share it with another 2 people. All right, and then if I do that again, we notice each one of these is going to be able to split into 2 halves. So each one of these is its own group. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I shared my 4 pizzas and gave each person half, that means I could share my pizza with 8 people. So 4 divided by 2 and 4 divided by half, they don't mean the same thing. And this is where the wording in math really comes into play. We have to be really careful with what we say, because what you say makes a big difference in what you have to do to solve. So let's take a look at another problem. I have 1/2 and I want to put it into 4 groups. So I'm only working with this piece right over here. However, we have that important rule with a fraction. What you do to one, you have to do to the other. I'm going to write that down. What I do to one, I have to do to the others. So what I do to this half, I still have to do to this half, even though I'm not looking at it. So I want to take half and I want to put it into 4 groups. So I want half in 4 groups. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split it into 4 groups. But now remember, this isn't 1/4, okay? This is what I do to one, I have to do to the other. So I have another 4 pieces over here. This is actually 1/8. Each of these pieces is worth 1/8 because I have to look at what did that do to the whole. So when I took half and I cut it up 4 times, those became eighths because they got smaller. Because if I do that to just half the pizza, I have to think about, okay, yeah, it gave me 4 pieces for half the pizza, but it also gave me 4 more pieces on the other half of the pizza, making them eighths. Now I can ignore that side though. I don't care what that side says anymore. I don't need it because I'm only looking at half being put into those groups. So now I have 1/2 and I divided it into 4 groups. So in each group is 1/8. So 1/2 divided into 4 groups is equal to 1/8. Let's go ahead and try another one. So now I have 3, so I have 3 candy bars and I'm splitting them up into 2/3. So first I have to split each candy bar into thirds. So again, here's 1/3, here's 1/3, here's 1/3. All the way through. Whoop. Okay, and then now what I want to do is I want to put 2/3 in each group. Okay, I want 2/3 in each group. So I want 2 of these in a group. So there's one group. And again, I'm going to change colors. 1, 2. So there's 2 groups. And I can even circle it if it makes it a little easier for us to see. Actually, let's change that color here. And then 1, 2. Here's another group. 1, 2. All right, so far I have made 1, 2, 3. I've made 4 groups of 2/3, but then I have this guy here left over. Now, it's not that I have 4 and 1/3. I need 2 of these pieces to make a whole group. So since I need 2 of these pieces, right? Because 1, 2, since I need 2 of these pieces to make a whole group and I only have 1, this is actually 4 and 1/2 because 1/3 is equal to half of a group in this case. Okay, so this isn't like when you're adding and subtracting with fractions where what you have left over is your answer. You have to think about, well, how many of these makes a group? Well, 2 of these makes a group, so I would need another 1/3 over here, but I don't have that. So since I don't have that, I only have 1 out of the 2 that I need, then that is my fraction. All right, let's look at it. Is it different if I do 2/3 divided by 3? So again, I have to look at the whole. So this right here is 1 whole. And then I'm only going to look at this portion of it though, right here. Whoop. But again, what I do to one, I have to do to them all. So if I want 2/3 and I want to put it into 3 groups, I have to cut all of them into 3. And that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces. So I know each of these is worth 1/9. Now I can ignore this last part here because I'm not worried about putting those into 3 groups. I only want to put this 2/3 into 3 groups. Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. So if I have 6 pieces and I want them in and I want to make 3 groups, 6 pieces, and I want to make 3 groups, how many can go in each group? Okay, so if I put 2 in each group, so here's a group, here's a group, and here's a group. Okay, did I have any pieces left over? No, and that's the goal, all right? So if I do that, if I take 2/3 and put it into 3 equal groups, inside of each equal group is 2/9. Therefore, 2/3 divided by 3 is going to give me 2/9. Now here's the thing. I don't expect you guys to do division like this for the rest of your life. What I'm hoping is that by doing this, we get a better understanding of what's happening when we divide with fractions. So that way when we start to work with whole numbers, mixed numbers, and all that, our answers tend to make a little bit more sense. And we can kind of see if we're on the right track or not. Reciprocals. So down the road, we're going to talk about how to do division without using models. And that's going to involve reciprocals. Now remember, a reciprocal is the number that you can multiply another number by to get 1. So to get 1, I need to get the same number on top as I do on bottom. Okay? So it's not like an equivalent fraction where if what I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom, because that's going to give me still different numbers. To make it easy, what we do is we say, well, if I want to get the same number on top as I do on bottom, then I'm just going to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. And that should give me, so here I get 2/2, which is equal to 1. So the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2/1. Okay, same thing here. Let's try it. So I would take the denominator, put it on top, take the numerator, put it on bottom. I get 8/8, which is equal to 1. So the reciprocal of 1/8 is 8/1. Now be careful. We can't put equal signs here. We can't say 1/2 is equal to 2/1. They're not equal. Okay, they're reciprocals. So no equal signs can go between them because they do not have the same value. All right, so now here I have 2, and there's no numerator and no denominator. But notice right here, 2/1. Well, isn't 2/1 the same thing as just 2? So what if I took this and instead of just saying it's 2, call it 2/1? I can then do my numerator goes to the denominator, denominator goes to the numerator. I get 2/2, which is equal to 1. So the reciprocal of 2 is actually 1/2. Which makes sense because the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2. So then you guessed it, we're going to take 8 and we're going to put it over 1. And then again, flip it around and I get 8/8. Which is equal to 1. So the reciprocal of 8 is 1/8. Which again makes sense because the reciprocal of 1/8 is 8. All right, so let's go ahead and do some practicing here. I would like you to go ahead and give a couple of these a shot on your own. If you want to try the first one with me and then do the next few on your own, that's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to look at what's happening in these diagrams. All right, so I have 4 and I'm dividing it into groups of 5/6. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now these aren't the world's most accurate or perfect pictures, but they're close, okay? And I want to put them into groups of 5/6. So to do that, I need sixths. So I have to cut this into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So count and make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. And I'm going to do that to all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I want groups of 5/6. So I don't want all of them. I only want 5 of them. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that gives me one group. Again, different color. 1. And now I can grab more, so I can do 1 from here and 4 from here. So 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4 actually. 5. So this piece plus these is my second group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, this piece plus those gives me my third group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that gives me my fourth group. And then here I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I didn't have enough to make another whole group, so in my answer, that's going to make a difference. So here, I'll have made 4 whole groups, and then I had 4 left over out of the 5 that I needed to make a whole group. All right, let's take a look at the next one. This one might look a little different. So here I can draw it. And I only want to look at 1/5. So I have to look at the whole thing, but I'm still going to cut it into fifths. So 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And I want to put 1/5 into 4 groups. So that means I have to cut all of these. So I have 4 groups. And I can not do it as a dotted line. It might look a little bit better. Okay. But now here's the thing. I'm only looking at this section. All of this I can ignore, except for the fact that I have to know what's the size of this piece. Well, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 20 pieces. So each of these pieces is worth 1/20. Now here I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I want 4 groups, here's a group, here's a group, here's a group, and here's a group. So each of those is its own group, and in each of those groups is 1/20. So 1/5 put into 4 groups, or 1/5 divided by 4 is equal to 1/20. Okay. Erase a little bit here because I'm running out of space. All right, 6 divided by 2/3. So again, I need 6 boxes. 1, 2. Yeah, that first box I made a little bit too big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if you're feeling confident in this and you want to give it a shot, go right ahead. Now, each of these I need to cut into thirds. And then I'm going to put, so I'm going to cut them into thirds. And I'm going to put 2 in a group. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then 2 in a group. So here's 1, 2, 1, 2, and I put them together that way so it's a little easier to see that they go together. And then 1, 2. And then 1, 2. Okay, so I can even, like I said, I should go through and circle them so I know which pieces go together and how many groups I've made. So far, I have made 4 groups. Ooh, I might run out of colors here pretty quick. And then 1, 2. So now I've made 5 groups. Yeah, I ran out of color, so I'm going to use the highlighter now. So here's another group. That's 6 groups. 7. 8. And look at this, it might work out perfectly. 1, 2, yep. So in doing this and putting these all together, I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 groups. So 6 divided into groups of 2/3 equals 9. All right, what I would like you to do is I would like you to do your ride, and I would like you to try this first problem right up here. All right, I would like you to draw your diagram. All right, so taking a look, we have a package that contains 4 cups of oatmeal. There's 1/3 cup of oatmeal in each serving. How many servings of oatmeal? Oh, there's my question. How many servings of oatmeal are in the container? All right, so we're taking a look at this container and we're saying, well, the whole thing has 4 cups. Each serving is 1/3 of a cup. So think about what's happening. I'm taking that whole big thing of oatmeal and I'm taking a scoop that's the size of 1/3 and I'm scooping it out 1 scoop at a time. So 1, 2. How many times am I going to do that? How many servings can I make before I run out? And I want you to do your own diagram, and we'll take a look at these when we come back to class. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure to write them down, pop them on the Google Classroom, or shoot me an email, and we will go over them in our next class.